Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I hope you are well in this pandemic time. Let's start our class. Students, this is chapter 17, The Ancient Invaders, from the history section. In this lecture, we will be going to read about the Persians and Greeks. We have read about the Aryans, about their religion, about their caste system, their languages, etc. in our previous lecture. Now, this is a brief history of Persians. The Persians entered the subcontinent in 500 BCE. They came from Western Asia through the Khyber Pass. Persia is now called Iran. They captured a huge empire which stretched from Greece and Egypt in the west to northwestern India. So the empire of Persia was very large because they were warlike nation. They were fiercer. They knew how to fight the battles. The extent of their empire can be seen in this map. See, the whole yellow color shows Persian Empire, and from the Egypt and Greece up till India in the northwest, it was their empire. Nowadays it is divided into this whole is in Asian continent, some of the European and African continent. They conquered a great area because they knew how to fight. The Persians were a strong nation and had a fairly advanced civilization. They conquered the Gandhara kingdom and made Taxila their capital. Where is Taxila? It is in Pakistan. Taxila still exists and has a historical importance. Taxila later became a great center of art and learning. We heard about Taxila. And when we been to Taxila Museum, we can feel what was the level of art and architecture at that time. At that time, they used to make pottery, utensils out of metals. They used to make coins of metals. They used to build houses. There was a proper planned system. You can see one of the picture given in the book, some ruins of ancient Taxila, the capital of subcontinent during the Persian Empire. They were very organized people. You have read about Gandhara civilization in class 5, how planned the city was and in what organized manner they built their houses and streets. This is very important about Persians, that they did not fight the battles only, but they brought about new ideas of living, how to use money, the new ways of building. Before that, they did not know the use of money. There was no currency at all. There was exchange of goods only, which was known as barter system. They started to build houses. They learned about the medicines and steel from the Aryans, as the Aryans learned farming from the Dravidians. When two cultures meet, they influence each other. The Persians brought some new ideas with them. They introduced the use of money, new architectural style, irrigation schemes for the from the Aryans. They learned about new medicines and the making of better steel for better weapons. Why were weapons important? Wars were the very important aspect of their daily life because they were always in danger of getting attacked by the another nation. They had to up to date themselves and their weapons. They made proper irrigation system. What is irrigation? Irrigation is the system of giving water to the crops and fields. Because of that, their farming and agriculture flourished. After some time, they became weak and powerless, and the other nations swiped them, and that was Greeks. Let's revise about the Persians. The Persians entered the subcontinent in 500 BCE. Their empire stretched from Greece and Egypt in the west to northwestern India. They conquered the Gandhara kingdom and made Texla their capital. Texla became a great center of art, architecture, and learning. They made pottery, utensils, and coins out of metals. They built houses and streets, start using money. They learned about the medicines and steel from Aryans. They made good irrigation schemes. Students, let's talk about the Alexander and Greeks. Who are the Greeks? The Greeks who belong to Greece. The next major invasion whose effect have lasted in our part of the subcontinent was by the Greeks. They were led by the charismatic Alexander, who is known in Urdu as Sikandar-e-Azam, Alexander the Great. He became the king of Macedon in 336 BCE. He was a brilliant soldier and leader. His teacher was Aristotle. Alexander was a well-educated and groomed king. He defeated Porus, the king of Punjab. He wanted to rule over the whole world, and he died at the age of 33. Let's talk about him in details. Alexander succeeded to the throne of Macedonia, northern Greece, in 336 BCE after his father Philip's murder. He was 20 years old, but he had already shown himself to be a brilliant soldier and leader. He was also well educated, as his father had groomed him thoroughly for kingship. For the grooming of princes and princess, the kings used to keep special teachers for the kingship. His tutor was the great Greek philosopher Aristotle. Alexander was very skilled and brave like his father. In the remaining 13 years of his short life, Alexander conquered the biggest empire ever known, from the Egypt to Asia Minor, Persia, and up to river Jhelum. He was about to go to conquer the next part of the world, but he died then. He had a great battle with the king of Punjab. His name was Porus. The Porus was captured and brought to Alexander, who was so admired by the king's bravery. When the Porus was brought in chains in front of Alexander, Alexander asked him, students, it's a very well known story. When the Alexander asked him that how do you expect to be treated, do you know what did Porus answered him? He said, like one king treats another king. Alexander was so impressed by this answer, and he not only forgave him, but he returned all his kingdom and made him the king of that kingdom again. Students, look at this picture. These are the Greek soldiers fighting with the Punjab soldiers. They never seen elephants war before. At the beginning they didn't know what to do, but then they came to know what to do. The Greek had a special war strategy which was called phalanx. In this strategy they used to stand together in a rectangular or square block. The whole group of soldiers were standing in rectangular form and they had their spears with them. The soldiers used to stand in the middle as well. They all were having spears. The front soldiers used to sit and the middle soldiers used to stand, that they become an unbeatable block. That strategy was called phalanx. They put one end of the spear on the ground and held it in place by their feet. The sharp end was held out in front. The elephants could not get near the soldiers without running into the spears. Other soldiers rushed up with daggers. Daggers means the small spears, and cut the nerves of the elephants so that their legs collapsed. Alexander wanted to conquer the whole world. His ambition was to rule the whole world. But his soldiers refused to obey him for the first time. They wanted to go back to their homes in Greece. They were so tired of fight continuously. He was forced to go back to Persia. Some of his Half of his army crossed by the terrible Makran desert and the other half going back by sea. Thousands of soldiers died because of different reasons like climate, food, illness. Back in Persia, Alexander began to make fresh plans, but he fell ill. People say that he got plague down. He had a severe fever and died at the age of 33, and his great empire broke into three parts, and each ruled by one of his generals. We have come to a conclusion that if we conquer all the world, at the end we have to leave the world. You go nothing in your hands, and we have to die one day. Students, that was all about our today's lesson. Let's underline the words and you have to find out their meanings, and then you will write their meanings on the books. Okay students, this is your home task. Your oral work is read pages 80 and 81. The second question is find the meanings of underlined words. The third one is write the answers of following questions in rough notebooks. The first question is what is the present name of Persia? The second question is what was the capital of Gandhara kingdom? The third question is name any three new ideas, inventions brought by Persians. The fourth question is when did Alexander become the king of Macedon? The fifth question is at what age Alexander died? You will find the meanings of the underlined words and then write their meanings on the book. And the 5 questions which are given, you have to write their answers in rough copies. Class, that was the end of the lesson. Now, Allah Hafiz and take care of yourself.